Good afternoon and a warm welcome back to the channel. For those of you that have watched the channel for some time, you'll know that I've had several BMW motorcycles. I currently have a couple, an R18 for Sunday afternoon bimbles, but my main motorcycle, which I use for long distances and touring, is a 2022 BMW K1600GT. Now that machine comes with the 10.25-inch TFT, and you use the BMW connected app to show maps on your TFT and also to control music and other things. Now that's all well and good, but we will know that despite the great strides that BMW have made with the connected app, and it is considerably better now, there are times when it just loses connectivity, and specifically when you pull out of a filling station, it can be a long time before it connects, and you've got your fingers very much crossed that it does actually connect to its internal Wi-Fi. Now that system, the 10.25-inch TFT with the maps, is the same on all of the K1600 models, so the GT, the GTL, the Bagger and the Grand America. It's also the same on the 2021 and after R1250 RTs. It's the same on the new R1300 RT, and in fact that funny little electric thing, the CE04. Now, certainly irrespective of the foibles of the connected app, it would be very nice to be able to connect to your phone for other things. So quite often when I come to the end of a day, we might have overcooked the distance we could travel on the roads we wanted to travel on, so we just want to get from where we are now to the hotel, or from where we are now home, or we might want to go to a fuel station, or we might want to go to a chemist or a coffee shop. And all of those things are far quicker on Google Maps, so you can just tap that in. But of course, both on the RT and on the K1600s, your phone is in a cubby hole, hidden away, connected up, and it's just a little bit of a pain to undo it and take it all off. That's all now about to change through a combination of items from Nippy Norman, the UK's largest supplier of BMW aftermarket accessories and parts, and Chigee, which is probably about the best quality aftermarket Apple Play stroke Android Auto display units mirroring your phone that you can get. And up until now, we've not been able to do this, apart from to maybe mount it on a little handlebar stub, a little bit like I mount my current quad lock and GoPro mounts and the like. But we do now have a professional way of mounting this now above the TFT on the K1600, and that's all covered in this magical little bag here, which has been sent to me by Nippy Normans, and it's a bracket which sits behind the TFT and mounts the Chigee above it. Now, the models that I just rolled off, the K1600s from 22 onwards, the R1250 RT from 2021 onwards, the R1300 RT, the brand new one, and the CE04. So all of the models with the 10.25-inch TFT can use this exact same bracket. And we'll go through the unboxing of it and show you all that in a second. But just to run through it, I've been sent by Nippy Normans the AIO-5 Play. That's the basic, realistically, the basic Series 5 Chigee unit. AIO is all in one. There is an AIO-5 BMW. That one is designed to directly replace the nav5 or the nav6 that you can get from BMW as a far cheaper option, of course. And that one plugs directly into the GS and the GS Adventure navigation preparation. There's several other motorcycles that you can plug that into, and that allows you to use the Whizzy wheel on those motorcycles. This solution is purely a bracket solution. It doesn't plumb into the BMW CAN bus in any way, so you don't get the ability with this to use the Whizzy wheel. And for that reason, when you buy the kit from Nippy Norman, and I would suggest you buy the kit, is it saves you, I think, about 15 or 20 pounds over the individual component items. Then the Nippy Norman's kit comes with the Chigee Remote Control Pro, which allows you to put that up on the handlebars to control the Chigee unit with. Now, I will say that the bracket, once fitted, will take any of the current Chigee models. So we're going to be fitting the AIO-5 Play. There is also an AIO-6 LTE and an AIO-6 Max, which is a bigger unit and has different capabilities and fitments. You can check out all of these on the Nippy Norman site, and I'll leave a description, or I'll leave a link to that Chigee page on the Nippy Norman site below, because he does carry all of the screens, all of the adapters and all of the accessories you can buy, the cameras, the tyre pressure sensors and all of the like. But just to run through this and the 3 items we're going to be fitting, there's the actual bracket. That's the bracket that fits on the 10.25 inch TFT unit. That's $95.90. The AIO-5 Play on its own would be $319.90, and the Remote Control Pro at the current time is £81.95. Now, all of these, bear in mind, are as of me filming this in October 2025. They may change, but you just need to pop onto the Nippy Norman site and you'll get the up-to-date price. Certainly if the price reduces, Nippy Normans are pretty rapid in bringing those down. If you buy the kit, then the whole kit, the 3 items, is $497.47 currently. So that's an outline of what we're intending to do here. We're going to move on in a moment to the unboxing, and then once we've done the unboxing, we'll get out on the motorcycle, fit it on, and you can see the finished article and how nice it looks as a fitted unit that can run, or can mirror your phone, number one, but can also run Apple Carplay and Android Auto. A great solution all round. So let's have a look in the boxes. So, unboxing them without doing all the fancy stuff that an influencer may do. I've already unpacked them, but I'll show you what's in each individual box. So if we look at the bracket itself, and that's really the key to what we're trying to achieve here, which is fitting the Chigee unit behind the 10.25 inch TFT on those models. There you can see it. It's a very substantial bracket. It's steel made and powder coated black, so you know, incredibly well finished, manufactured by Chigee. One thing I would say about Chigee is, if you look at an awful lot of these Chinese aftermarket type products, whether that be these screens and everything else, they can sometimes leave a bit to be desired. Everything on this Chigee unit feels incredible quality, right from the box that you take it out of, through the manuals that you get, the user manual and the quick start guide, through to all of this. It's using 3M self-adhesive pads here, so everything about it is quality. And of course that's how people like Apple make their names, is making everything from A to Z in good quality. But that's the bracket itself. You can see that the TFT is going to fit just here, sandwiching itself between the brackets. There's a rubber, probably can't see it here, but there's a rubber liner there which will obviously stop the TFT from vibrating. And then once you've got that in, the Chigee will actually mount in these 3 holes here, so 2 small holes and a little hole. So that's the bracket. It comes with these 4 rubber washers, and I suspect that they will replace the rubber washers that hold the current TFT on. One side is thinner than the other, so I'll take a look at that when we actually get out and on the bike, but I suspect that's got to go in a certain way, and we'll make sure you know that. And then it comes with a couple of Torx keys with the 2 little screws and the larger screw to fit the Chigee unit. The 2 larger screws have thread lock on them, so obviously anti-vibration. And if we then look at the Chigee unit, the Chigee is, as I say, the AIO-5 Play, and that's the unit there. So hopefully again you can see that unit. It's got a cable coming off the back of it that we're going to connect in later, and I'll show you that one. It comes fitted with this ball mount, which is a standard ball mount, but we're actually going to remove the screw in the middle here and the 2 on the outside, and we'll replace those when we fit that to the bracket. But that's the actual Chigee unit and its power lead. Put that to one side. Now the Chigee unit comes with several pieces of fitting hardware and accessories. You've got a couple of Scotch lock wiring connectors, some small cable ties in there, the invariable Chigee reflective stickers and a Velcro cable tie. This is the important one. So we've got 2.2 or 2.5 meters of cable. Now that will allow us to wire the back end of the Chigee unit all the way down underneath the bike. We'll show you this when we fit it to the bike, but in here you can see that there is a red ring connector and a black ring connector. Those will go to the positive and negative of the battery, and then the pretty standard yellow cable here will go to any switched wiring, so anything which comes on with the ignition, so the tail light, any of those types of things. Tail light is a quite common one to be used. If you've got a CAN bus adapter, something like an Easy CAN or the CAN Smart from Denali, then you'll know that you have an accessory yellow switched wire. You can gladly use that, but we'll see that when we get onto the bike. You've then got what I think is probably a standard handlebar mount for the Chigee, because of course the Chigee could be being fitted to anything, and also some rings here, which I suspect are reducers to go in here for different sizes of bars and handlebars, but we actually won't be using that. This Chigee unit actually does come with an adapter here that you can connect to the back of the Chigee to power it, and on this end there's a USB-A. So you could just simply connect this to USB without going to the problem of wiring it all the way through the system. And of course it comes with its own little toolkit of another 2 Torx keys and a tiny little Torx screwdriver. So that's the unboxing of the Chigee AIO-5 Play. So lastly is this little beast, which is the control unit for the remote control unit for the Chigee 5. Stressing again, this will not work with the BMW Wonder Wheel. So we're going to mount this. It comes with a mounting plate. So there is the mounting plate there, and some screws and another Torx key. We'll not be short of Torx keys, and that gives you the answer phone, hang up the phone, and various other options which will undoubtedly be able to move you through the various menu options that sit on the Chigee. So you can see on the Chigee preservative sheet here the various different operations of the Chigee, and I'm sure that remote control will enable you to use those. But we'll find out those when we go out to the bike and fit it. That's the unboxing. That's what's in the packets. Here's a couple of images of what's in there, and a full look at the family. But after this, we'll be going out and putting it onto the K1600GT. Okay, so here we are out with the bike. I've actually borrowed a shed, a garage, which is pretty good for me because normally I'm doing this in the yard, but there is a threat of rain, so that's why we're doing it here. Obviously we're here to fit the K1600 TFT bracket from Chigee and Nippy Norman's, and I don't know quite yet how we're going to do this or what we're going to need to take off to achieve it, but I'll take off as little as I possibly can, and I'll show you at each step of the way what I've taken off. I'm not going to go through each and every individual spannering because that just gets pretty boring to watch for 20 minutes or something, but I'm going to remove the screen. I don't think I need to remove the screen, but it just gets it out of the way because we've got the cubby here for the phone, which we've got to lift up, and then there's a couple of bolts behind there which we'll show you to take the TFT off, because I have taken that off before. But I'm thinking that when I come to do the wires that I'm probably going to take the wires pretty much down through the side here. There's a very small plate here to take off this top of the tank trim, and then probably this side fairing to run the cables all the way along. So I've got them under the seat because I've got a hex Easy CAN, and I'm going to try and connect that yellow switched wire to that, and obviously the red and the black to the battery. So we'll make a start and we'll come back to you at each stage as we've done it. Okay, so we've now got the screen off. As I say, I'm not sure we really needed to, but that's allowed us, obviously the cubby here is now free, which is where your telephone goes, down in this slot here. And I know to remove the TFT is simply a matter of taking these 2 screws out here that's been revealed by opening the phone cubby. So we're going to get ahead and take these two Torx 25s off here, and that should enable us then to lift the TFT off, and we'll show you the TFT once we've actually got that off and the leads behind it disconnected. So we've removed the two Torx 25 screws that are exposed when we open the phone cubby here, and now we should find that the TFT will simply pull backwards off its mountings there and lift. So there we are. There is the TFT off its mount, and then behind here we've just got two plugs to remove. They've got little spring-loaded releases here, so push those in and pull like so, and this one has just a pull there. So that's the two connectors that we've just taken out from the TFT. Now we're going to take the TFT over to the bench so that we can fit the bracket to the back of it. Okay, so here's the back of the TFT, and you can see here that there's little spring clips, 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to remove those spring clips, and that will enable us to pull this plastic bracket away from the TFT unit. And in here there are 4 rubber grommets behind here, and we're going to replace those with the ones that come with the bracket. So you can see these now. Just one very important thing here, you may or may not be able to see this, hopefully you can. This is the grommet, and the grommet has a fat side and a thin side. And if we look at the TFT here, trying desperately not to drop my TFT, the bracket is going to be sandwiched between this plastic piece and the TFT, and it's important that the thin side effectively goes downwards within here, because the thin side goes up against the bracket, and obviously that's what gives the extra bit of space for the bracket to actually be fitted to the TFT. So I'm going to put that back on the saddle, which will be a little bit distant for you, but I'm hopefully going to be able to show you how the clips go off and the rubbers come out. So we've got a plain slot screwdriver. We're just literally going to remove these clips, so just little spring clips like so. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's those off, and we should find now that this bracket, this plastic bracket, will pull off the TFT. There we go, and it leaves the spigots that those are linked into. So we're not changing any of that, totally non-destructive. But what we are now going to do is remove these BMW standard grommets, and if you can see that, you'll see that that grommet is exactly the same thickness on both sides of the grommet, whereas the ones we're replacing it with are thinner on one side. So that thinner side is going to go, here's your bracket, the thinner size here is going to go in the slot like so. So we've now got the thin side up against, got to look which way the TFT is. So that's the top of the TFT. So the bracket is going to go on like so, and this bracket is going to go on with the thin side of the grommet down on the bracket like so, actually like so. So hopefully that's clear, but it is quite important because that's what's giving you the space to not have to replace the spigots that are on the TFT. So we'll continue on with that. Okay, so we've now replaced the BMW grommets, the 4 BMW grommets, with the Chigee grommets, the thicker this side. So think of that plane there, and it's the thick side this side and the thin side on this side. So hopefully you can sort of see that. So first off, now we've got to put the bracket on. Now we've got 3M adhesive here, so we're going to remove the backing tape for that. And the idea of that is when you've got this down, obviously these holes are drilled so that it fits, but it'll just stop it moving from side to side, and we all know how good that is. And as I said to you in the intro video, there is a rubber strip here, which just protects the top of the TFT and stops that from scratching. So they have pretty much thought about it from every angle, but we're going to drop that on as centrally as we can and apply a little bit of pressure there just to get those to adhere, and then we'll get the bracket here, and that should push onto the spigots. All we now need to do is to push these little C-clips back in, which you'll appreciate they're a bit fussy and we'll probably ping them all over the place. So I'm going to fit those and we'll come back once we've done it. So the 4 clips are now in place, clip, clip, clip and clip. So we've now got the Chigee bracket sandwiched between the two, thin side of the grommet here, fat side of the grommet this side, and the 4 connectors in. So the Chigee unit, the AIO-5, all-in-one 5. We've seen this before during the unboxing of it, but you'll remember it's got this standard ball socket attachment, which we've got to remove. So with the keys that are supplied with the Chigee, we can remove the screws here, 2 small ones at the side, which I'll do in a second, and the larger one in the middle, because that's what's going to allow the Chigee to be fitted to the TFT bracket. Okay, so you can see we've removed the ball unit and the 3 screws, 1 in the center, 2 on the edge. The screws actually look the same, to be perfectly honest, but I have used the screws that came with the bracket. So 1 little screw there, 1 little screw there, and the larger screw in the middle. So that is now all fitted. If I spin that round, you can see it now looks like quite a pretty cluster. Now I'm just, before I go any further, I'm just going to put the TFT back onto the back onto its mount, so that to make sure that everything opens and closes before I go through all of the wiring and everything else to get this into place. So the next shot you'll see is the item in place, and then I'll continue to do the wiring as long as everything is okay at that stage. So as you can see, the TFT is now in place with its bracket, with the Chigee in place. Looks certainly very good from here. We've not actually mounted or finished mounting the TFT back in yet. I just wanted to make sure that it would all fit and the wiring would all go through. What I've done with the wiring, hopefully you'll be able to see it here, but I'll do a still shot, which I'll show you now, of where the wiring is going. But it goes through this little hole at the side here, which is perfect. It's not trapped in any way. The TFT is totally in place, just needs the 2 bolts putting in there to hold it in place, and just to make sure the phone cubby closes and the phone cubby opens. So the other thing that I would check is that we're going to be clear of the screen. So with the cubby closed and the ignition on, I'll now lower the screen. You'll have to imagine it for a moment. We'll show you at the end of the video with the screen back on, but we don't know where the wiring's going yet, so we won't put the screen back on. But you can see clearly that the trajectory of the screen is above the Chigee. So it's going to be, I think, a pretty nice install. So we've removed the TFT and the Chigee unit now that we know it all fits nicely. We've got this void here, which is where the TFT wires go. We're going to put our Chigee wire down there as well, and we're going to bring that down using the same routing as I've used for my Denali lights and for the in-of cameras and the in-of remote control unit, which is basically removing a very small panel here, removing this black panel on the tank, removing the center strip of the tank, this side of the tank, and the fairing. All sounds a little daunting, but it is only basically probably 10 or 15 screws, and that'll expose everything. Not going to show you spanner for spanner, but I will make sure that you do see exactly what panels I've taken off, how they're taken off, and showing you that it all works. I do apologize for the circular saw rolling, but the world continues next door. Okay, so we've got to a point now where we can route the wiring. As I've already said, it'll go down through the void here by the TFT cabling. It'll come out the bottom here. Now what I've actually removed, there's a single screw cover here. I'm going to go through this with a shaky handheld camera in a minute so that you can see where they all are. But there's a single screw panel here. That then allows you to get to the screws for the side fairing, and that has screws at the front by the radiator and at the side here. So you just need to make sure that you've got all of those undone. And there are some then for this large tank cover that sit behind the fairing. So as long as you sort of look and don't force anything, you'll also find that this black panel which is the equivalent of this one here, which looks like it only has one screw. It does have another one at the front and another one at the side, and then you pull that backwards to enable it to come off. So effectively we've taken off the single panel at the front here, the tiny panel in the wind channel. Then we've taken off the small black panel from the tank. We've taken the big panel off the side of the tank and the fairing panel. That's now given us enough room. You can see all the wiring here from my lights, etc. But I will go through with a shaky handheld just to show you where all these are going to go. So here's the TFT wiring. So we're going to go with the Chigee down through the void just here. That will enable us to come out down here. So this is where the screw is for the single panel that comes out of there. So we will then bring the wiring a little bit like we've got this here from the handlebars. So it'll come down in this channel here, and we'll run that all the way down. Here's the winglet here. We'll run that all the way down into this area and pick up the wiring that runs through here, all the way under here, over the top of here. You can see my cable tying there, and that will take us back here by the rider's seat and the passenger seat, which is where I've got my EasyCan unit. And in the meantime, I will put the red connector onto the battery and onto the positive of the battery, and the black connector onto the negative of the battery under the seat. So that sort of shows you. I'll just back off a little bit so that you can see what we've actually removed. Fairly straightforward. Just take your time, mark up the bolts as you take them out, and then you can just put them back in exactly the same way when you come to put it back. So the Chigee unit, as you can see, is now fully in place. We have bolted the TFT, that's these two bolts here, one here and one over here, and the wiring has gone in with the TFT wiring. I've got to say, it's a really neat fitment. Yet to see how it works. And one interesting point, the Chigee came with a very dark protector on it, and you can only just see the Chigee booting, and then it looks like it goes off. In fact, it doesn't. It's got a menu selection for the language, so just be aware of that when you fit yours, that you actually peel that off. I mean, it's nice to peel it off at the end of a video, but there it is. It's actually there. And just to prove that we are now connected, I've just switched the ignition on. As you can see, the BMW is booting, and there is the Chigee booting with the switched wire, and you'll see it come into life there. So we've not connected anything like the CarPlay and everything, and to be perfectly honest, it's pointless doing a video on how you connect all of these things. I will show you the CarPlay working at the end, but you know, it's not a tutorial on how to set up your Chigee. It's realistically how to fit the bracket on the back of the TFT. Now what I've done, just so that you can see with my wobbly camera work, the cable comes down through the back of here, and it runs all the way just here, look. So hopefully you can see that, and it runs underneath or by the side of the airbox. Then it disappears down through the airbox and comes out down here, look. So hopefully again you can see this. Runs through. We've cable tied it to some of the other cables from the cameras and such like, over here through, underneath, through all the cable ties. There's the red connector connected to the battery, and the black connector connected to the battery there, and then the switched wire goes up into this jumble of wires from my Hex EasyCan, and that's what then actually powers the Chigee unit. So I'm going to get the bike back together now, and the next thing you'll see is hopefully everything up and running and back where we started. But I got to say, that is a very, very neat fitment for an extra phone mirrored display. So there we have it. The motorcycle is back together. The fairings are back on, all the wires are routed, cable tied, etc. Exactly how, as you know, I would like it. But it is very, very slick, I have to say. That I am pleased. It complements the motorcycle. I've not fitted the remote control yet. I will get round to doing that. But interestingly, you can see that you can still, the cubby has never been easy to get into, the phone cubby, but you can still get your phone in here and put the charger in. You can still close this down, and if we then boot it, you'll see the BMW boot, you'll see the Chigee boot. which you'd see now you've got the screen off. Please take that off, because we were thinking it wasn't connected for quite some considerable period of time, and then realised that actually the tear off strip to protect the screen is actually very, very dark. But there you can see the Chigee working, you can see the BMW system working, and most importantly, which I haven't shown you yet, with the screen back on, we can now lower the screen to its full extent, and we've still got a good amount of clearance there. So that's the fitting of the Chigee bracket for the TFT models of BMW motorcycles. Again, repeating myself, all of the K1600s from 22 on, the R1250 RTs from 2021 on, with this screen of course, the new R1300 RT, and that funny little Chigee AIO-5 electric thing, which also has this TFT fitted to it. It'll fit all of those motorcycles. Maybe a slightly different fitting regime for yours, but you can see there that it really isn't a tough fit. Take time and you'll get the job done. As I say, all of this available from Nippy Norman's. I'll put links down into the video description so that you can have a look at them and click on them. If you've got any questions, give me a shout. If you've liked the video, give it a thumbs up. That'd be great. And if you want to follow me. I don't do that many videos, only videos and fitments that I want on my motorcycle. And I've got to say, this definitely will be staying. Thanks for watching.